And thank you for coming to this workshop. As you're aware, it's going to be videotaped, so I will take your questions at the end. I would rather that it be an interactive session. But anyway, I'm Dr. Lopez. I am the Assistant Dean for Admissions and Diversity and Associate Professor in Dental Public Health at the University of Minnesota School of Dentistry. And this is one of my passions, is to bring qualified students into our school as well into the other dental schools. The topic of our workshop is how to prepare a competitive application. And I'd like to know, just by a show of hands, how many of you are applying for the cycle entering next year? So most of you. How many of you have applied for this year's application? Okay. So maybe if you hear something now, you would write answers and say, I'm sending this addendum to my application. Okay. All right. So this is the presentation that we give to our applicants. We have a monthly advising session, and I will just say what we tell everyone else who are interested in our school. So I may not need to dwell on this slide because you're all thinking of applying to dentistry. You have your own reasons why you would like to be a dentist for the future. But here are some of reasons that may bring you back to why you really want to become a dentist in the event that you somehow say, am I doing the right thing? Am I really on the right track? So one of the things that people look at when they think about dentistry is that you are your own boss. I was listening to two students at the back in the shuttle bus this morning, and they were saying, yeah, you know, you can manage your own time, you can decide how many hours you need to work, how many days you have to work. Many dentists I know only work for about 4 days a week and have 3 long weekends, or they can decide to be off Mondays and work on Saturdays. They can decide to work late in the morning up to end at night because they want to make their practice more convenient to their patients. So anyway, you are really in control of your own schedule, except if you work in a community dental center, and then you have working hours as well, and maybe even longer hours because of the huge needs in the community. But people also want to be a dentist because of the great opportunities for service. You know, a lot of our communities need dentists. Minnesota is now home to many immigrants. And we have one student, by the way, we have a dual degree, DDS MPH. So students have their master's in public health once they graduate in dental school. And his capstone project is integrating oral health into the health screening of immigrants. And what he's finding out is that when refugees and immigrants come to Minnesota, they are not really screened for oral health. And they are given 90 days where they get all the help that they can from the government, settle them, tell them where to go for medical care, etc. But they are not screened for oral health and oral diseases. And so after that, you know, we have a high rise in emergency treatment for non-trauma dentally related cases. So there's a great opportunity to educate communities. Elementary schools, a lot of students still suffer from caries, and a lot of absences from school is because of dental caries. A lot of opportunities for research. We need dentists out there in our community, service, and also then for research. We want dentists who keep asking why this way, why do we have to use this material, why this way of treatment. A lot of opportunities. See, dentistry is not just fill and drill, okay? And you all know the dramatic work that is done by dentists in people's lives, making people smile, giving back confidence to people because of the change in their appearance. You gain very high respect by family, friends, and community. You know, once you get to the dental school, you go to a party, what do they tell you? You know, I've been having a toothache for a long time, and they treat you like an expert already. Or would you like to look at my tooth? Ah, we're in a party actually, can I see you afterwards? And even the advertisement of Crest, you know, a father saying, my daughter goes to dental school and she has influenced me about da 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 da. See, even while a dental student, you get that respect already. All right. And even in the community, you know, you say you're a dentist, you're no longer the person who's going to be feared. Oh, I'd rather not go to a dentist. But hey, you're a dentist? And they ask you a lot of questions. The other thing about dentistry that's not found in the other health professions is that you're able to work with your hands. If you're an artist, you know, you carve. Do you know that you need 3D drawing skills to go into dental school? Okay. Those of you who are artistic, are talented, get into dentistry. Now, of course, in this day and age, who doesn't want to have a 6-figure salary? I always tell our students, you know, I have never seen any of our graduates go unemployed. True that there are changes in the employment and work patterns of dentists, but still, it's a very stable profession, and you're going in at the right time. With the Affordable Care Act, a lot more dentists are needed too for the children who are brought into the system because of what the Affordable Care Act brings. All right, so 6-figure salary. I remember one of our Somali students who graduated 2 years ago, and he told me a month after graduation that he got a job in one of the safety net clinics in Minnesota. And I said, gee, that's nice. You're serving people who are in need of care. And he said, you know, the other thing, Dr. Lopez, I have $140,000 salary per year. For somebody who was a refugee when he was in his teens, went through a lot in terms of getting to school and then to dental school and getting a 6-figure salary after graduation, I was so proud of him. 2 years afterwards, however, he told me, I just bought my practice. Muhammad, how can you do it? Great timing. And he's running his own practice. All right. So of course, you don't just, cannot just, if you're not happy with just doing general dentistry, there are many opportunities for specialization as well. Okay. Are you now 101% convinced you're going to go into dental school? If not, talk to me in the afternoon. Okay. Let me tell you, however, I'm not a dentist. I used to be a nurse and then a counselor. I've been in dental education for many years now. All right, this slide I borrowed from the American Association of Medical Colleges, AAMC. If there's one thing that you will need to remember out of this workshop, is this slide. This is going to tell you how you can be a competitive applicant. Let's look at the left side. Yeah, your left side of the slide. The first thing you need to do when you're applying to a dental school, and IDEA tells us that many applicants apply to at least 7 to maybe 7 schools, highest 10 schools. I have seen applicants who apply to as many as 20 schools. You look at the school and what is the mission of the school. Because you need to have a fit. The dental school looks at you and all your applications and they say, aha, this applicant will fit into our mission, you know. Our school, for example, is very strong in community service. Why? Because we have a growing, diverse communities around our school. We are the only dental school in Minnesota, and as I said earlier, we have the largest Somali population in the whole country, the largest, if not the second largest, Hmong population. We have a lot of refugees from East Africa, Eastern Europe, South Asia, name it. We have it in Minnesota right now. And we want to be socially responsible. So we want to prepare our dentists to serve communities, not just to have solo practices. And even if they have solo practices, we want them to go back to the communities so that there will be more access to care. We're very strong on that, and therefore we require our students to serve at least have 8 to 10 weeks in community outreach, maybe even more later on. So if you're looking at our school, for example, you need therefore to say, their mission is community, I need to volunteer more in the community, right? So we want to see that you have experience working with people, diverse groups, children, etc. That's our mission. We're also very research oriented. We want to prepare researchers, dental educators for the future. And we look at our applicant pool at students who have done experience some research. We have summer research fellowship for incoming first-year students and also during D1 and D2. Not that we are only going to look for researchers, but we need to have a small group every year of students who are into research. So if you're research-oriented already, try to get more experience in that research because that may bring you up to the top of that big applicant pool. All right, so many other schools are strong clinically. They read their websites and say, what is this school's mission? What is important to them? And if you want to go to that school, try to meet what they think is important. Okay, so the institution's mission. Read that carefully. Don't just apply blindly to as many schools. You need to target a school that is interested in what you offer. But you also want to sharpen your interests and your strengths. So you look for a school where you will fit. Okay? So then look at the right side, and you will see that we look at 3 areas in an applicant. At least this is what we do in our school. Okay? And the next slide will explain to us what we are looking for in terms of experiences, in terms of attributes of the applicant, and of course your metrics. Now, most schools, if not all dental schools in the country, do holistic review of applicant files. In other words, we just no longer look at your grades, your GPA, or your DAT scores. These are still important, of course. You know, we need to make sure that you will be able to do well with a very rigorous dental school curriculum, where in your second semester of your first year, you are going to be having 10 classes all together and 1 exam after the next. Okay, so looking at your metrics, when we look at transcripts, we don't only look at a 4.0 or 3.9 or 3.5. We want to look at your course load. Did you carry a regular course load while you were in school? Why is this important? Because if you're not able to carry a regular course load and do well in your undergrad, we tend to question, will you be able to handle the rigors of dental school? So look at your course load, all right? And of course, you need to have satisfactory, acceptable GPAs. And again, if you look at the IDEA guide to dental schools, you will find out what is the minimum GPA that they accept. So apply to the schools that will accept your GPAs. Now, of course, you need to prepare very well for the DAT, and there are various ways of preparing for the DAT so that you will get a good DAT score. Some take Kaplan, some take courses on their own. There's what's that, the DAT Destroyer. Many applicants tell me many secrets, and I said, no, I didn't hear that, okay? I know that you have resources out there. Be resourceful so you know how to prepare for the DAT very well. All right, so that's your metrics. Again, different schools will require certain levels of metrics, so that's why you need to know what the school will require. Okay, we don't have minimum GPAs. We look, again, most schools will look at your GPA and DATs compared to the other parts of your application. We understand that if you are a first-generation student and that you are working, you need to work many hours because you need to help your parents support the family, or you are the eldest in your family taking care of younger siblings, that you have to work. So we look at that, and that's why we look at your experiences, okay? And then we understand when you look at your application, we understand that your GPA is a 3.2 or a 3.3. Because look at this guy. He's working full-time, responsible for his siblings, and maintaining a full load, maybe 12 credits, and still getting these grades. And we read the letters, and the professors say, wow, he's responsible, a good team player, and does his job very well, da, 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 da. So we look at this, and this. Perfect. This is a great student. Okay? So that's why we don't just look at one factor. So study hard, maintain a regular course load, prepare for the DAT carefully. Now, in our context, if you get a C- or a D in a prerequisite course, and some schools, I don't know what other schools require, but in our school, you need to retake that course. If your OChem 2 is a C-, and then you get the DAT and you get a 16, don't submit that application. All right? Retake that OChem 2, retake your DAT. Now, don't be afraid to say, oh, then they will see my first score and da da da. No. If you retook your course, retook the DAT, and you up your course scores in your grade, then we say, he knows his stuff. He is persistent. He really wants to do this. Look at what he has done and look at the improvement. Okay? So if you get that C-, say, oh, it's the end of the world. No, you take it. You can do better. All right. So then we look at your grades, but we also look at your experiences. And under experiences, we call here the road travel. All right. We are now, I'm recognizing now, I'm not a dentist, but I've been working a lot with underrepresented minorities and low income and a lot of disadvantage. And many times they are told never to aspire for something greater. No, you can. You come from a first-generation family, immigrant family. You want to be a dentist because of what you have seen in the refugee camp. Go do it. And we see what you have done in your past, how many obstacles you have overcome to become this dentist. We are wowed by many applicants who have traveled a long distance and did well. Do not be embarrassed to talk about it or share about it in your essays. Your educational background, of course. Dentistry used to be a lot of just biology majors. Now we have English. We have a nutrition graduate who had her own food catering business, so her brother who became a dentist liked it. So now we're in a third-year class. You know, we have engineers, we have pharmacists. So if you are a career changer or you shifted something, then don't be embarrassed about that. There's always meaning to what you have done in the past. That's part of your experience, but strengthen that educational background. Employment. If you're able, again, if you have been working part-time or full-time and studying, having been employed and working regular hours, maintaining a discipline because you have to study and work and attend to other things, that tells us something about you. We were just interviewing somebody who was in pharmacy and was a district manager of a pharmaceutical company. And it's so funny, during the interview, he was telling the interviewers, I used to interview my applicants to the job. So I don't know how to answer your question because I know what to answer. But such experiences we value because of the employment. Research experience, already told about that. And again, your dentistry-related experiences. Why do we require shadowing hours? Because we want to make sure you know what you're getting into. Shadowing means you look at the life of a dentist, a day, they start this at this time, they end at this time. This is the way they interact with the patients, this is the way they deal with insurance matters, this is the way they run the office. And I like what I see. But if you only see one dentist, you may not know what you're talking about. If you only shadowed for 20, 30 hours, you may not really know what a dentist's life is all about. So the more you shadow with a variety of practices, solo practice, associate, community, hospital dentistry, then we know that you have an idea of what it means to be a dentist. Because we don't want students who come to dental school take a spot, a very precious spot, and then say at the end of a year, I don't think this is for me. You wasted your money, you wasted your time, you wasted that position. We want to make sure if you apply to dental school and you get in, you know what you're getting into, okay? And that's why you need those dentistry-related services. You can shadow, you can volunteer. Many states now have what they call the mission of mercy. There are missions, to other countries. Get all the experiences that you can related to dentistry. Okay, so besides your metrics, your experiences, we want to look at your attributes. Who are you? What are your skills and your abilities? Answers will require you to, in a section, they will ask you to write what you have done with your hands, psychomotor skills, doing craft work, sculpture, painting, drawing, crocheting. I have read applications of guys doing crochet. Never imagined my brothers to be able to crochet. That's a women's job. Hey, dentistry is artistic. So your skills and your abilities, your leadership abilities. Why do we look at your extracurricular? ADSES will require you to list your extracurricular activities. Those who are able to lead groups, not only in terms of official, being president or secretary of your pre-dental club, but you're able to lead groups. You were able to arrange a mentorship program in an elementary school, for example. That is a good experience. You're able to mobilize your sorority to raise funds for Ebola victims in Liberia. That is leadership experience. All right, so any opportunity for you to exercise leadership, to exercise, show your compassion to people. You mentor this grade 2 student who's struggling in math or arithmetic in elementary school, and you saw him move on to the next grade and succeed in school. That is something. That is an experience we're looking for. Because dentists are leaders. Dentists make a difference in people's lives. So demonstrate that in your application or in your preparation for that, for your application to dental school. Okay, your demographic factors. Of course, in our context, we're looking for those who come from communities where there are very few dentists or health professionals. So our different ethnic groups, we want to make sure that there will be those who come to dental school and will go back and serve. You need to be able to demonstrate that. You don't have to be a member of the underrepresented minorities. We look for rural students, for example, because Minnesota is largely rural. We want to have students who can say, I don't want to work in a city because I have this compassion for people who have to drive 1 hour to find a dentist. I want to be there so that they have access to care. All right. So this is the whole picture of who we look like, of what a good applicant looks like. All right. So we're not just looking at grades anymore. We're looking at your experiences. We're looking at your skills, your talents, your gifts, your compassion. I always say when people come for an interview, we ask questions because we want to determine what kind of a person, a student you are in the past. Past behavior predicts future behavior. If you are like this in your undergrad, we look at your application and read, oh my goodness, thousands of applications that we read, and we see, oh wow, look at what this student has done. If this is the way he is in undergrad, we will expect him to be this in dental school. Okay? Now, for some practical matters. You all know already, how do you prepare academically to go to dental school? Make sure you have completed all the prerequisite courses. Again, dental schools may vary in their prerequisite courses, but basic stuff, biology, chemistry, organic chemistry, physics, biochemistry. Now, I've heard that some schools don't require biochemistry, but we do. So again, look at the school's website or the idea guide to dental schools and see what they require. Other prerequisite courses could be math. I strongly recommend statistics because of the trend in evidence-based dentistry. You should be able to read scientific papers and interpret what they mean. Of course, English. And then human psychology, sociology, all the other psychology and science courses. All right, then we have electives. As I said, dentistry is an art. So if you're looking for an elective and want to work with your hands, take sculpture. I remember being in one dental school before in Minnesota, and we had one foreign student, and she was so depressed about school, and talked to me, and I said, is there something that you can do outside of dentistry? Well, she took a pottery class, and she produced great work with her hands. Convince her more that she wanted to do dentistry. Work with your hands in terms of electives, drawing. Other upper science, upper biology courses, cell biology, histology, human anatomy, etc. I'm sure you know all of that. Again, look at the school and see what they prefer you to have in terms of your electives. Now, there are some who say, can I take business because dentistry is a business? Sure, you can do that as well. Okay, so here we now put a component, and I have discussed some things already, but I'd like to now pay attention to the essays. All right. It is not forgivable anymore to submit an essay with grammatical and typos. All right, I have reviewers of applications who say, my goodness, didn't even do a spell check. Please, please, spell check. Have somebody read your essay before you submit it. It should be free of grammatical errors. What is important in the essay? The essay, besides your grades, you know, I'm having a picture of an ADSES application. Your personal statement that is required in ADSES is the place where you shine, okay? The personal statement is where you put all your grades, all your extracurricular activities, all your research, etc., volunteer jobs together. This is the skeleton, and your personal statement puts flesh into it. I always say when I read a personal statement, I like to see the student come in front of me and say, this is who I am. Okay, this is where I come from, for example, my background. This is my goal, my dream, and this is why I want dentistry. Write your personal statements well, because the readers of your application will say, wow, I'd really like to meet this student. I see the grades and da-da-da-da, but this is something. And that's why they will call you for an interview. You grip them with your essay, and they want to see you and hear you. So shine in your personal statement, write it well. Convince them that you are the student they want in their school. Now, in our school, we require other essays, which is one, your orientation to dentistry. So besides listing, in your ADSES, you will have a list of all your shadowing. We want you to tell us what you learned as you shadowed, you know. It's not just that you observe a root canal, or you observe an implant, or you observe this and that, you know. We want you to tell us what you learned from this shadowing. What is it about human interaction? What is it about skills of the patient, understanding insurance, etc.? Anything that you learned, insights that you learned as you shadowed different dentists. That's the orientation to dentistry. And then we also require your contribution to diversity. And it's not just diversity in terms of your ethnicity or your cultural background, but your contribution to diversity in terms of, remember, your experiences and your personal attributes. When we look at you, what are you going to bring to the table in terms of our school? What can you bring to enrich the class that we are going to have? So show us. Now, some applicants have said, but I don't like to brag. You're not bragging. You're just saying, this is who I am and this is what I can bring to your school. I speak Spanish, and I have experiences in helping Spanish-speaking people access care. You know why we would like to look at you? Because we have a large Hispanic population in Minnesota. Mexican Americans who will not see a dentist if they do not speak Spanish. That's also looking at our mission. Or you can say, I have done mentoring, and I have done elementary schools, and I am experienced dealing with children, and I have been a camp counselor, and and what does it mean to you? You're showing us that you have leadership, you have that compassion, you have that commitment to serve communities, etc. It fits into our mission. You're showing us that besides your grades, you are bringing something else. All right? So those 2 essays we require, your orientation to dentistry and your contribution to diversity. Now, we also require, if you have W's, you had a D, you had an F in school, you know, we don't just say, no way, you're not taking him. No, we want to understand why your second semester grades went down. Explain to us what was happening to you. We want to give you the benefit of the doubt. Why your grades slump that one semester, but then we see the upward trend later on. We want to know your situation, you know, and how you dealt with it. And that's why we ask students who have some colors in their transcript, I call it a colorful pass in your transcript, what happened there? Because we do want to understand you and give you the benefit of the doubt, okay? That's why we require the explanation of academic difficulties. Maybe an illness in the family, maybe your own personal illness, but it shows us also how you dealt with a difficulty, what skills you had to overcome those challenges and then succeed. That's why it's important to us. Okay, your letters of recommendation. Now, I know that we require 2 science, letters from 2 science professors or math professors. What we're looking there is how do you perform as a student? Again, past behavior predicts future behavior. So we want them to tell us what you were like as a student, not only because you sat in the front and you asked questions, or you went to advising or consultation hours, but we want them to tell us how you work in the lab, in groups. This student has been a good team player, worked well in groups, very meticulous in his lab notebook, and what other things have I read in the letters? You know, we want to hear those. Not just that you got an A in that course, but what kind of student were you? Okay, many biology courses, and they divide them into groups, and the students evaluate each other. And sometimes professors take the pains to summarize to us the evaluation of the student from fellow students. We love hearing those. Now, of course, you waive your rights, so you don't know what your professors are writing about you, but please remind them who you are. There are letters that say, this is Maria Cruz, and then in the middle of the letter it says, he did this and he did that. Hey, Maria is female, how come he became a he in the middle of the letter? So make sure you ask professors who are careful in writing the letters. You waive, of course, so you don't know. We don't blame you, but then you should ask the professor who really knows you. Sometimes we accept letters from TAs because they know you very well. They work more closely with you compared to a professor who lectures to a 200-member student class, okay? So those are important. Now, we also require a supervisor, work supervisor, or a volunteer supervisor. Why? We want to know how you work. How did you deal with clients? Mario was always respectful of our customers. He listened, he did not complain, he came to work on time, and da-da-da-da. All right? We want to know. Past behavior predicts future behavior. This is just an explanation of what I've said earlier in terms of the essay and contribution to diversity. And then, of course, you may be called for an interview. We interview about 30% of our applicant pool, 30 to 35. So you need, based on all the areas that I've told you about, you need to rise to the top, and then you'll be called for an interview. Now, when you're called for an interview, you have to prepare very well. We do have a blind interview. Interviewers don't know your files. They have not read your scores. It's experientially based. And we do this because we want to increase the objectivity of a very subjective interview process. Many other schools use different methods of interviewing. I see in the workshop there's the multiple mini interviews. If the school does that, prepare for that as well. Okay. Here is a picture of our class. We accept a class of 98, and you can see the diversity there. We have a lot of non-traditional students coming in, those who have worked in other areas of business or pharmacy, as I said earlier. We do give points to that, not points, but give them credit for that. I'd like to end here. And again, another guideline is you apply early. Why do you need to apply early? When you apply early, your application is 1 of 500. You apply more later, it's 1 out of 1,000. A little bit later, you're 1 in 1,200. So you need to be seen early on. Now, however, don't just apply early because you need to apply early. Make sure you have a well-prepared application. Okay, I have 5 minutes, and I'd like to and I'd give you time for questions. I have a student, a senior student from our school at the quad this afternoon. If you want to talk to him, please come and talk to him. His name is Matthew Charging. And I think that if you are looking at a school, make sure you talk to the students. The key in getting to know a school is talk to the students. Ask them if they're happy in the school. What is student life like in the school? Okay? I'll end here so I can have time for more questions. I think I have about 5 minutes. Any questions? I think I talked too fast many times, but we have 5 minutes. Questions? Yes?
Service hours in, I guess, for sustaining, but should we also be asking our letter writers to include how many hours or a time frame we work or shadow with them?
Yes, I would strongly recommend that when you talk to a professor, you bring your CV and show them. Because, your classes are generally very large. So you want to tell the professor, I'm applying to dental school, and ask them early so they begin watching for you, okay? So this is my CV, and this is what I've done, and this is my aspiration. Would you please write me a letter, And then let them see you in class. Show yourself to them, but yes, tell them everything you've done. Yes? We, in our school, take 64 credits from community colleges. We do realize that education is becoming more and more expensive. And there are strong community colleges with strong science teaching. So we accept credits from community colleges. Again, look at the dental school and see what they look for. But in Minnesota, we do. We realize that it's sometimes cheaper and more convenient to go to a community college, and then you transfer to a strong 4-year college. So we will accept 64 credits from a community college. Again, do your best in the community college. Do more than what is required in the community college. Yes? If you are what? If you, yes, but we will only give you credit for 64. Yeah. You remember that you need to have at least 87 credits to apply for dental school, but 64 of that could come from a community college. Yes? Because dentistry, the dental curriculum is strongly science, we would prefer a science. But you can submit a science and you did well, for example, in a non-science course, submit a letter, especially if you work with that professor in many other areas. But because it's science-based, science letters are more preferred. Yes?
Does it matter what year you're in when you ask for the recommendation letters? So do you accept the ones that are recent, like junior, senior year, or also freshman, sophomore professors?
It doesn't matter as long as it's a science, but the letter should be current. You know, I have had committee members say, but this is 2013 and the letter is 2011. And we had to suspend evaluation of that application and had to call the student because she was a good applicant. And I said, can you ask for a letter which is more recent? So it should be current.
So if they give them to us earlier, we have to ask them to change the date? Or?
Yes, change the date.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes?
Can the letter of recommendation be from a community college professor?
If it's a science, yes. We do not discriminate. Yes?
I have a question. You said you have to have eight units of organic chemistry with lab.
Yes.
Now, at community college it was 5 units, and then when I transferred to UC, theirs is 3. So that would be 8. But the thing is that I didn't take the lab the second semester.
It's OChem.
So I had first OChem 1 with lab, then I transferred over and had OChem 2, but I didn't take the lab. But it's 8 credits.
In that case, I always ask for the syllabus of the course to make sure that you covered what needed to be covered.
Okay, so you can look at the syllabus.
Yes, yes. Yes.
Why do universities ask if you know anybody from that university? Does that play in the selection process?
We ask if you know anybody in the university. We don't.
Boston University does.
Well, again, as I said, you look at the school and see what they're looking for and address that specifically. Yeah, I don't know that other universities do that, but we don't. Yes?
How does your dental school deal out-of-state applicants, and what other qualities do we have to demonstrate?
Good question. Minnesota accepts in each class, we have about 35 to 45% non-Minnesotans and 55 to 65 Minnesotans. Why? And that is for diversity's sake. We want people from the East Coast, West Coast, and the South to be in the Midwest. It just enriches the school and the class. And that's why we look at non-Minnesotans. So we review in the same manner. There's nothing more that we require from you because you are not a Minnesotan. The only disadvantage is you pay more tuition because you're out of state. You don't pay taxes in Minnesota, we charge you more.
The out-of-state tuition, is that for the initial year and then subsequently?
It's all 4 years. It's all 4 years. So we do have some scholarships where we waive the tuition so you pay the in-state instead of out-of-state, but that's special. Yeah.
And one more follow-up. And does your school, or actually does the state of Minnesota provide incentives for those who choose to practice in your state regarding loan repayment or those?
Yes, the National Health Service Corps has loan repayment. Indian Health Service has loan repayment. As I said, I think I said in the earlier workshop, 40% of non-Minnesotans who come to our dental school stay in Minnesota. We are not really the icebox of the country. It's beautiful. I mean, I'm originally from the Philippines, and then I moved to Canada, and then I was at University of Pennsylvania for my PhD. I love Minnesota, and you can adjust to the weather. We have tunnels and skyways, and it's not the weather, it's the coat you wear. It's important. One more question. Yes?
I have a question about the shadowing hours.
Yes.
Does dental assistant count, or do you have to do additional shadowing hours on top of it?
If you work as a dental assistant, we will count it under your work experience. Especially if you work only for one dentist, I strongly recommend that you shadow other practices. Again, to give you that breadth of orientation to dentistry. With working as dental assistant, you have the depth. because you see one dentist in many kinds of patients and treatments. But that's depth. We want to see the breadth as well. Okay, are we done? Yes? Ooh, they all pass. I always say, when we bring you in, we want you to succeed. So we provide tutors if you need help. We move you along. No, we don't have super seniors or super freshmen. No, we move them along. And graduation rates is the same. All right, thank you very much, and please come and talk to us later.